What's going on, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, we're going to react to some pieces and articles that other publications are putting out. On the tail end of the show, we're going to talk about Bleacher Report because they think that Darren Waller is going to be the biggest bust for the Giants in the 2023 season. I have some strong thoughts and opinions on that. But let's start with good old Dexter Lawrence. Shout out to Sexy Dexy, big number 97. ESPN ranked the top defensive tackles in the National Football League, and they had Dexter Lawrence outside the top 5. This is what they had to say about it. Quote, Lawrence has had an impressive 7 months. He capped off a 7.5 sack season by helping lead the Giants to the playoffs and a wild card win in Minnesota. In May, he landed a 4-year, $90 million extension with the club. Lawrence's 43 pressures ranked second among defensive tackles last year behind Jones. That's more pressures than Lawrence had in 2020 and 2021 combined. So that was kind of them talking good about Sexy Dex. I also don't know what stats they were using for pressures. Our stats via pressures come from Pro Football Focus, which showed that Dexter Lawrence had 63 pressures as a freaking nose tackle. That is unheard of. He had 28 QB hits as a nose tackle. He had 7.5 sacks as a nose tackle, 7 tackles for loss, and 68 tackles on the season. I could make the argument he was the best defensive tackle in the National Football League last year. I'll give that crown, though, to Aaron Donald, as I respect the greatness that he has. But before we show you guys who they had ranked ahead of him, let's just spam the chat. Show some love for Sexy Dexy, Dexter Lawrence, the big man. Shout out to Dexter Lawrence. I can't wait to get the dance going. Type those 97s in the comment section. And if you love the big fella, Dexter Lawrence, I can't wait for Giants football this year. Type 97. These are the top defensive tackles that ESPN had ranked above Dexter Lawrence. They had Aaron Donald, which I get. I think Dexter Lawrence statistically had a better season than him last year. I thought he had a bigger impact on winning, but Donald is always going to get that title. Chris Jones, I get that as well. And while Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams, and Javon Hargrave are really good football players, I don't think they are better than Dexter Lawrence. And I just don't think that they have as big of an impact. I'll give you Chris Jones. I think he might be just as good, if not a shade better. But I can't give you Jeffrey Simmons, excuse me. I know Quinnen Williams is really good. I can't say he's better than Dexter Lawrence, and I can't say Javon Hargrave is better than Dexter Lawrence. I'm going to tell you why I believe this coming up in a second. But first, today's show is sponsored by Z Biotics. Let's face it. After y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats, I don't bounce back well the next day, and that is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down, and it's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. It comes in an awesome, sleek package like this. It comes with 6 bottles inside. I like the packaging that it comes with. It's nice and sleek. It's slick. It could fit in one of your toiletry bags. It could also fit in a suitcase very easily if you are traveling. So get hooked up with them. zbiotics.com/chatsports and get 15% off. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code ChatSports at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription as well so you can stay prepared no matter what the time or the occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. That's zbiotics.com/chatsports. zbiotics.com/chatsports. And remember to use the code ChatSports for 15% off at checkout. That link and promo code will be in the comments and description of today's show. In that ESPN article, an NFC executive said this about Lawrence. He's a flat out dominant run defender. He can create for himself or others. He is overwhelming. If your center isn't a top level guy, he will dominate him. Sack production, though, isn't elite, but he was better last year. Since when is 7.5 sacks for a nose tackle not elite? It is. 7.5 sacks. 63 QB pressures. Since when is that not elite? He must be a freaking Cowboys executive in the NFC. What's worse, though, is what the AFC executive said about Dexter Lawrence. Now that he has the contract, I'm curious if he keeps up the same level of play. I thought his intensity would come and go a bit coming out of college. What a hater! Are you kidding me? Why are you still hating on this man? Are you saying he's not hungry? Are you saying he's satisfied? It sounds like you have the same take that you did on his scouting combine profile when he came out of Clemson compared to when he's been the best nose tackle in the NFL. Update your takes. Dexter Lawrence is one of, if not the best defensive tackles in the NFL. It's a joke how much people hate on this guy. He is a dog, no doubt about it. It's upsetting. He needs his respect. I freaking love Dexter Lawrence, and I am glad he is the center of this New York Giants defense. I want you to answer this question, though. We showed you, according to ESPN, there were 5 guys better than Dexter Lawrence at the defensive tackle spot. So I want to hear from you. Dexter Lawrence is the blank best ET in the NFL. Fill in the blank down below. I'm going third. Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence. That's my list right there. All righty, more national media hating on the New York Giants. Bleacher Report put out an article highlighting the biggest bust for every single team heading into the 2023 season, and they named Darren Waller as that guy. They went on to write that, quote, on paper, Waller provides a veteran presence at a position that needed it last season. Rookie Daniel Bellinger was their top tight end with 30 receptions for 268 yards. Waller should, of course, improve on those numbers, but he's a risky bet to rely on as a top option in the passing game at this point. The 30-year-old has missed 14 games over the last 2 seasons with hamstring and knee injuries. Even when he was able to play last season, he was averaging just 3.1 receptions and 43.1 yards per game. He was showing signs of decline in 2021, averaging just 7.2 yards per target. The signs of decline, have been there for 2 years. If the Giants think they are getting the player that posted back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2019 and 2020, they are going to be disappointed. Did Bleacher Report think the Giants traded multiple first-round picks for Darren Waller? Because they didn't. They didn't even trade a second-round pick. They didn't even trade a third-round pick. They traded a third-round compensatory pick, the 100th selection in the NFL draft for Darren Waller. It is embarrassing how bad of a publication Bleacher Report is at this point. And not to mention, why were the numbers down for Darren Waller, if at all, which I can push back on because the math that they put out there is quite literally just not true. He played for the worst head coach in the National Football League last year in Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels blows. Every Raiders fan wanted him fired after week 1. He couldn't get it to work with Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and every single elite player on offense that the Raiders had. And they weren't good. It's embarrassing how bad that Josh McDaniels is as a head coach. And then we're going to blame that his badness seeped into Darren Waller. It absolutely makes no sense. I don't understand how that can even be possible from that point of view. Darren Waller, while he may not be that same player that he was when he was one of the best tight ends in the National Football League, he's still a really good player. I mean, when you look at what he did in the season last year, 28 receptions, 388 yards, 14 yards per catch. I thought the explosion went down. 14 yards per catch and 3 touchdowns. I guess 14 yards per catch isn't good. at this point anymore. The season before that, I would say that 55 receptions for 670 yards in 11 games is pretty good. I would also say that 12 yards per catch for a tight end is pretty good. And we know that he was one of the best pass catchers in the National Football League in that 2019 and 2020 season. I would also say he had a couple of pretty good games in the limited sample size he had in 2022. I would take 4 receptions for 80 yards any day of the week. I'd also take 3 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. I'd also take 6 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown. And I also would take 3 receptions for 48 yards in a touchdown. And not to mention, he has some of the most catches over 20-plus yards for a tight end over the last 4 seasons. I do not agree with a thing that Bleacher Report said in this article. That's why Bleacher Report is trash. 5 touchdowns for Waller this year. I'll put the question in your hands. We'll play a little game of over, under. Type O for over, type U for under. 5 golden rings. 5 touchdowns for Darren Waller this year. Type O for over, type U for under. I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Remember, you can always follow me over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm tweeting about the Giants all day, every day. I'm also tweeting about the Knicks and occasionally about the dumpster fire that the New York Yankees are right now. But if you want to chop it up over there, send me a DM at @MarshallGreen_.